Luxury compact crossovers are a dime a dozen in 2021. In fact, this particular segment is very competitive as BMW, Audi, and Mercedes-Benz are vying for the top spot in this price range. Now, every single luxury manufacturer offers these vehicles, and for consumers in the 2020s, they're looking for a great balance of luxury but also performance as well. You don't want to buy a vehicle at around $50,000 and go from 0 to 60 in 8 seconds. That's just not going to be very nice for most drivers. They're going to be very upset if they do have a vehicle that slow. But we have a hard time trying to find a vehicle that can do both and do them very well. And that's why I am back today with the BMW X3, which has experienced a facelift for the 2022 model. Now, not much has changed compared to last year. You're going to have a different front fascia and also a different rear fascia and some minor cosmetic differences for the interior, but everything is pretty much the same. Now, last year I did feature the BMW X3 M340i, and I said that was one of the best vehicles I've ever featured on this channel. And that's why I am back to take a look at the X330i to see if it is one of the best luxury compact crossovers you can buy in 2021. So in this video, we're going to take an in-depth look at the BMW X3, compare it to last year and also to its closest rivals, and also see why, if you were looking for a luxury compact crossover, then maybe going with the BMW X3 might be a great decision. Now, before I get in this video, I want to give a huge shout and thank you to Herb Chambers BMW Sudbury in Sudbury, Massachusetts for allowing me to do this review. Their link will be in the description below so you can check out their extensive BMW inventory. Also, before we get started, make sure to hit the subscribe button and also click the notification bell so you're notified every time a video goes live on the channel. And so, without wasting any further time, let's get right in this review. Gone are the days when we looked to Germany to supply us with great rivalries within the sedan segments, as consumers across the globe have adopted the crossover lifestyle that provides decent practicality, better interior space, but also the sense that you're receiving the best bang for your buck. Sadly, it seems the driving and handling characteristics have taken a back seat to emphasize luxury and technology in the digitalized world of the 2020s. And while there are some brands out there that can give you enjoyment behind the wheel for a decent price, BMW is one of the last manufacturers who still puts the driver first, even if you're hopping inside an X330i, whereas rivals are focusing on other characteristics at the expense of having a less engaging driving experience, and as a result, puts the ultimate driving machine in a position to win over the hearts of consumers who want to feel a connection to the vehicle they drive. Starting off with pricing, the BMW X3 xDrive 30i comes in with a price of around $47,000. But as you can probably tell, this isn't a base model. And in fact, it's a tastefully spec'd example displaying a new color for 2022, which is Brooklyn Gray that was first offered on the 2021 M3 and M4. Since the LCI updates and modernizes the exterior and marginally refreshes the interior, you won't notice any differences when it comes to exterior dimensions, as the 8 inches of ground clearance is identical to last year, and it'll be sufficient enough to take on some light off-roading or unplowed streets during the winter. Even better if you're primarily focused on practicality and buying a family-friendly compact crossover, the X3 will be slightly bigger than the Mercedes-Benz GLC and Audi Q5, which is going to have a profound effect on cargo space and overall passenger volume. With our model for this review having the M Sport package with the Shadowline exterior trim, the X3 looks sleeker, but also similar to the M340i. New for 2022 is a redesign of the kidney grills, which of course get enhanced as we've seen with new BMWs as of late. But also the new headlight design adds a classy aesthetic that may have been lacking in prior model years. And thanks to the optional packages that we had today, those headlight housings are smoked for a lower profile look. With the gloss black trim, there's a sporty color contrast that certainly draws attention. And while this is only a 30i, the muscular body lines and angles for the bumper really helps the LCI stand out compared to last year. And despite being a minor refresh, the X3 is certainly an eye-catcher. Moving over to the side profile, this model is sitting on the 19-inch M Y-spoke bicolor wheels, which are available if you opt for the M Sport package. Compared to less equipped X3s, the plastic cladding has been replaced for a full paint finish to go for a more capable appearance when it comes to performance, rather than having the typical rugged attributes. You'll have body color matching power folding side mirrors with turn signal indicators to go along with active blind spot detection for added safety. Then coming around to the back, drawing your attention immediately is the redesigned LED taillights, and just like up front, they are smoked, which goes well with the gloss black accents that outline the housings. You're also going to notice that for the dual exhaust outlets, the X330i now has the same design that was found on the M40i for a more aggressive look. And with the Shadowline package, the color contrast continues for the rear fascia to make this model appear more like a sports crossover rather than just a standard middle-of-the-road compact SUV. Under the hood, nothing changes compared to last year, as the X330i is powered by a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine that puts out 248 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque, and is paired with a ZF 8-speed automatic transmission. While performance numbers aren't the most compelling, having a responsive transmission works wonders for this crossover, as close rivals like the Mercedes-Benz GLC just don't offer a driving experience that's as engaging as what BMW is providing with this model. If you're looking for more power, the M40i will certainly be the way to go, and for 2022, all X3s with a 6-cylinder will have a mild hybrid system to aid in performance. When it comes to the drivetrain, our model is equipped with BMW's xDrive all-wheel drive for better year-round versatility, but for those who won't be encountering winter road conditions, rear-wheel drive does come standard. For fuel efficiency, you can expect to receive a combined average of 24 miles per gallon. Stepping inside, you're greeted by a familiar interior layout. However, the newest addition is the optional 10.3-inch touchscreen for improved usability while driving. Also new will be the availability of Android Auto compatibility, and obviously for iPhone users, you will have Apple CarPlay. Just like last year, this is BMW's iDrive 7 system, providing dual functionality, as you can either use the rotary dial and quick access buttons found in the center console, or just use the touchscreen itself. Resolution and responsiveness is top-notch, and comparable to Audi's MMI user interface, and might be considered easier to navigate through when matched up against the head unit found in new Mercedes-Benz products. As always, you will have a rear backup camera with trajectory to go along with parking sensors to make sure you don't hit any stationary objects. Getting to interior comfort, this X3 has the power adjustable and heated Tacora red perforated Sensotech seats for both the driver and passenger, with the driver's side being 2-position memory for added convenience. While not aggressively bolstered and not genuine leather, they will keep you in place and are actually quite enjoyable to sit on. Even better, this spec is quite unique, and with the red contrasting with the black interior pieces, it does add a welcoming and sporty vibe when you get behind the wheel. In front of you, a 12.3-inch digital gauge cluster will propel you into the 2020s, and despite not being as intuitive or engaging as what we experience with other German crossovers, the simplicity is rather refreshing. Helping you keep your eyes on the road will be a head-up display with traffic sign recognition, so if you have the urge to drive more spiritedly, you'll at least be aware of the speed limits. Taking a glance at the dashboard, this is where nothing has changed from prior model years, as there'll be 2 rows of buttons for your dual-zone climate control, front and rear defrosters, AC, and heated seats, and of course, the row for your radio presets. Then looking at the center console, you'll have a cubby for a smartphone with a USB input. And to the left of the gear shifter, you have the drive mode selector, hill descent control, auto start stop, and park assist features. For the center storage compartment, you have enough room for small items. And rounding out the front seating area and part of the premium package will be a massive panoramic moonroof to let in a lot of natural light to the interior. Now for passengers in the back, we're going to start off on the driver's side, and this seat is adjusted further up to someone of my height, around 5'5", and I have a massive amount of legroom to work with here, which is to be expected, but this is pretty standard for most crossovers in this segment. But what's not standard and not usually found in vehicles in this price range and of its size is the amount of headroom that you actually have here to work with. Even with this massive panoramic moonroof, we have a good amount of headroom. So if you're on the height of 5'9" and above, you're going to be able to sit back here pretty comfortably. And that's why the X3, I still feel, is a well-rounded crossover that is perfect for a family, but also if you do have some taller passengers, maybe even some friends, they're going to be able to sit back here pretty comfortably. And even if they're of all sizes, they should be fine. Now, for the center seat, there actually are some great placements for my feet. The center hump is pretty aggressive though, which is going to impede a bit when it comes to legroom, but also shoulder room as well. Now, when it comes to that shoulder room though, the X3 doesn't feel very compact or claustrophobic in that regard. I do think though that if you are looking to have a vehicle where you can sit maybe 3 kids in the back, you're going to want to go with the X5, but in a pinch, you could definitely have 3 people back here, in my opinion. I think there's enough room, especially if they're average size adults or people around my height. And then for the passenger side, this seat is adjusted to someone of the height of around 6 feet tall and above. And I still have a good amount of legroom to work with here. So what I like about the BMW X3 is that there's a lot of interior space to work with where you can be comfortable. You can enjoy a long road trip with the family if you are going to sit back here. And to me, this is one of the more spacious vehicles that I have reviewed so far in this particular segment. Also back here, you will have 2 rear air vents to go along with climate control back here. Now, our model does not have 3-level heated outboard seats, but I do see the buttons for them, so that will be available for the 2022 model year. Also, we do have 2 USB-C inputs. And rounding out the rear seating area, you do get a center armrest with 2 cup holders. Now, coming around to the back, you're going to receive a power liftgate. And with the 2022 model being only a minor refresh and some minor cosmetic differences for the interior, you got the exact same 28.7 cubic feet of rear cargo space behind the second row seats. Now, to put that into perspective, that will outclass the Audi Q5 and also the Mercedes-Benz GLC. So this vehicle is more family friendly, but also more practical as well. And I was able to fit all my camera gear back here and then some. If I wanted to go to the grocery store after, I could do all my shopping and still have more room for extra stuff, which is really great to see. Now, I do think that if you were to go on a road trip with the family and you still need those second row seats up, you're going to be able to fit around 5 to 6 bags of luggage, depending on how big those bags are. So I like the family friendliness of the X3. Then with the second row seats folded, that space will more than double in size to around 62.7 cubic feet. So overall, what you have here is a practical crossover, especially in this price range and segment, but also more importantly, it outclasses its closest rivals. Then beneath the floor mat, you're going to find additional storage for maybe electronics. If you are going to the beach or the mountains this time of year, you can put your laptop, your iPads or iPhones back here, and then people won't be able to peek in and steal what you have. Then on the left side of the rear cargo area, you will have a compartment with some netting. So if you have some car detail equipment or some water bottles, you can leave them back there and they won't spill on your more valuable items. Also, more importantly, and one feature that I love seeing in all these crossovers is a rear cargo cover, which will keep all your valuable items out of sight. So if you are like me and you have camera gear with you or anything of value, you can leave them back here and have that peace of mind knowing that no one will be able to peek in and steal what you have. And then once you're done, just press the button and the liftgate will close automatically. So last year I had taken a look at the X3 M40i and I felt as though that was the perfect crossover in the lineup, and I'm really interested in seeing how the 30i is. Do I still feel the same way? Now, of course, one of the major differences with the 30i over the M40i that I reviewed last year is, of course, the power. But this is actually pretty smooth. And as I've discussed many times throughout the last really year and a half or so, is that BMW really emphasizes the driving dynamics more so than the luxury aspect, although I still feel very comfortable in here. The interior for this particular model is beautiful. I love the red contrast. But when it comes to the driving dynamics, though, it feels a bit more planted, Also, I do like the transmission as well. Everything's smoother. Whereas if you are cross-shopping this with a Audi Q5 or also Mercedes-Benz GLC, you're gonna find that the driving just isn't as engaging. And that's what I felt with the GLC, that the transmission just was not pairing up well with that 4-cylinder engine, whereas BMW has tuned these cars right where even if you don't have the budget for a M40i, you can go with a 30i and still receive a really fun daily driver. Now, the compact crossover market, specifically for luxury brands, is very competitive. But I have reviewed so many of these vehicles over the years that I still feel as though that BMW still has it right in this market, where they're giving you a very comfortable crossover that gives you that luxury aspect, but also we have the technology as well with the full digital gauge cluster and this nice infotainment system. But also, even though this does not have the 6-cylinder, the way it handles, the way it drives is superior to all of its competitors. And it's very hard for me to find another vehicle in this price range that I could truly say feels better or similar to what the BMW X3 has to offer. I just think it comes down to the handling, the suspension, because the suspension is pretty soft, but you don't get as much body roll. You still feel very connected. It's a very engaging crossover, even though I think for most enthusiasts, they're gonna wanna go with the X3 M40i. But if you're just looking for a new luxury crossover that's gonna be your daily driver, and maybe you have, maybe an M2 or M3 in the driveway or in the garage, this is still gonna give you that enjoyment. And what I like too is that with the X3, and we've gone over the entire lineup for BMW except for the X7 right now, is that you feel a difference between the X1, X2, and X3, and then of course the X5. Whereas with Mercedes-Benz, the one issue that I'm having with them is that it does feel pretty similar across the board, especially when it comes to their interiors. But even the driving dynamics is pretty similar. Whereas with BMW, there's a different feel with every crossover you drive. So if you are looking at an X2 and then maybe you're cross-shopping it with an X3, the X3 is going to feel a lot more refined, especially when it comes to the handling, but also that suspension as well. It feels more luxurious. But then when you compare it to the other rivals, especially from Germany, what I like is that BMW is still giving you a nice balance. It feels more balanced. Whereas Mercedes-Benz leans more towards luxury, and then the Audi Q5 is really all about technology. And I was going to draw you in with that eye candy. Whereas this is more of a driver's crossover. And that's why I think if you are that person that's looking to be more engaged and have more fun behind the wheel, that's where the X3 is going to come into play. Now, personally, I would say go with the M40i. That, to me, is still the best BMW crossover that I've driven so far. Now we have one bit of opening here, and let's punch it. See, that's a difference. That right there is the difference between the 30i and the 40i. The 40i, you're gonna get that kickback, whereas this, you definitely notice that 4-cylinder. But I do love the fact that this still gives you a taste of sportiness. And even though it's still luxury, it still is a bit fun as well. Now, I have been in Sport Plus mode the entire time for this test drive, and that probably explains why I feel that sporty characteristic come in with the X3. But the thing that really stands out to me the most with this crossover, and why I say the BMW X3 is still the best option if you are looking at a luxury compact crossover, is because of the ZF 8-speed automatic transmission. To me, that is the best transmission you're gonna find on the market today. Whether it's in a sedan, sports car, or crossover, it's better than the 9-speed in the Mercedes-Benz GLC. And as I noticed with that crossover is that when you put it in sport mode, you feel that hold back. You feel the gears holding a little longer than it should. It doesn't feel very refined. It kind of ruins the entire driving experience for me. And that's why that if you are specifically looking at a Mercedes-Benz, I'd say just go with maybe the GLC 43. Don't even waste your time with the 300. But with the X3, because we have the ZF 8-speed, it pairs up very well with the 4-cylinder. And I think that's why M340i, it makes the driving experience far more enjoyable. It's why I have a lot of fun with these crossovers in the BMW lineup, because we have a transmission that pairs up very well with every engine they use. And that's why I feel that BMW, even though some people would argue that it's not the same, that we've gone away from more of that analog feel, that it's still the ultimate driving machine. Now lately I have become a person who has criticized German brands in the past for giving us beefier steering wheels, and some buyers who are looking at the X3 might not go with the M Sport package. However, it fits right in with the X3's characteristics, even for the 30i, and you have that sense of being planted to the road, despite the fact that you do sit pretty high up in this crossover. Now, I thought with the X3 M40i, and this has been over a year now, I thought that it sat a bit lower, but that was based on perception. But you still feel pretty connected to the road, and that's why I think having the beefier 10-2 positions really helps get you more engaged and more excited behind the wheel of a crossover, whereas a lot of brands, whether luxury or just consumer manufacturers, the issue that you have here is that you don't feel very connected. It has more of a bland feel, whereas with the X3, because it is still designed and engineered to be fun, you do have that sense of connectivity and connection. Now, one thing that I have noticed with the driving dynamics when you put it in comfort mode is that the X3 does relax a bit more. It becomes a lot softer and quieter. Road noise is not a lot of it at all. One thing that I have noticed though is that even with the M Sport package, the brake feel isn't as aggressive as I'd like it to be, and I'm used to having more aggressive brakes. But you can offer the dynamic handling package, which will give you more aggressive braking, also better handling as well. So if you are looking for something just a step below the M40i, you can go with that and you can have a lot more fun behind the wheel with this crossover. Now, most likely, if you are driving and owning an X3, a regular X3, you're not going to be driving aggressively or spiritedly on back roads, and most likely this would be the drive mode you'd be in at all times, especially if you are in the city or even in the suburbs. But if you're the type of person that likes having more of an aggressive driving feel, then you're going to want to go in Sport or Sport Plus mode, which is exactly what I'm about to do right now. One thing that I have learned to really appreciate about the BMW's interiors as of late, after doing so many reviews in this particular market segment, is that the interior is more driver-centric and driver-focused. Even though with the digital gauge cluster, it's a bit more simplistic than what we see with Audi's virtual cockpit and even Mercedes-Benz's digital gauge cluster setup, it doesn't really draw your attention as much, so you can be focused on the road. I do have a head-up display as well, and I just like the way the interior layout is. Also, we have nice paddle shifters as well that feel really good in the hands if you are rowing through the gears yourself, and it just feels really nice in here. It has a nice blend of being sporty but also performance oriented as well, and so many brands are having a hard time balancing both. And we see this with even non-German brands, where you have Alfa Romeo with the aluminum paddle shifters, but then the luxury aspect does kind of cheapen up a bit. Doesn't really feel as good as you would expect, especially in the price range around $50,000 to $60,000. Whereas if you are looking at buying a BMW X3 30i at this price point, you're going to like how it feels refined, it feels smooth, but also when you want to put it in Sport and Sport Plus mode, it has that fun factor as well that so many brands are having a hard time trying to unleash, especially when you look at their closest competitors like the Audi Q5, like the Mercedes-Benz GLC. It's just very difficult to having both aspects in one vehicle, and that's why with those two particular brands, you're kind of forced to spend extra by going with an SQ5 or a GLC 43, whereas with the BMW X3, and maybe you're not as power hungry, you don't necessarily have to go with the M40i. You can go with the 30i and still receive a fun driving characteristic and really a great daily driver overall. So to me, after this test drive and having experienced the X3 M40i last year, I still believe that this is the best crossover in the BMW lineup when you look at the pricing, but also the performance as well, also like the luxury aspect. But also, I still think that this is the gold standard in the compact luxury market. It's very difficult to find a vehicle that can balance both luxury and sport at this price range, but also give you that refined feel as well. Even though some people say Mercedes-Benz is more luxurious, or, Audi has a technology, but BMW is still giving you a driving feel and driving characteristics that to me is just unrivaled even in 2021 and for the 2022 model year. So at the end of the day, the BMW X3, in my mind, is the crossover to beat in this segment. Even though I think a lot of people would argue that the Audi Q5 has a better technology package or Mercedes-Benz is a bit more luxurious, BMW is going to give you a driving experience that you're not going to find in other vehicles in this market, maybe outside of the Alfa Romeo Stelvio. I still think the Stelvio is more sports oriented, but when it comes to that luxury, that's where it all falls apart, at least just in my opinion. But within Germany, the BMW X3 stands out because it has really fun handling characteristics. Also because we have a ZF 8-speed automatic transmission, the gear's just as smooth. You want to put this crossover in Sport Plus mode, whereas most of its competitors, it needs to stay in comfort because the transmission just does not pair well when you want to put it in that more aggressive setting. Where BMW has designed and engineered this vehicle to be enjoyable, where you don't necessarily need to buy an X3 M40i, even though I would say that that is the better option of the two, just because you get a better engine, you get better performance, and I just think it's an overall great value at that price point. But when you're looking at crossovers that have a 4-cylinder under the hood, I still think this is one of the best you're going to find on the market today. And then when it comes to technology and the interior aspect, what I do like is that we have a bigger infotainment system, which really draws your attention. As I was loading up this crossover with my camera gear, that really caught my eye. It's very easy to read. But also something too is that with this user interface is that you're able to use the touchscreen or the rotary dial and touchpad or the quick access button. So I like the dual functionality for the iDrive 7 system. To me, it's just more driver friendly and driver focused, whereas some vehicles are only giving you a touchscreen like the Audi Q5. So I definitely prefer this setup for sure. And also, even though some people would say that the rest of the interior is a bit outdated with the physical buttons, I do like this more. I like having more of that analog feel combined with the digital gauge cluster and just more of that futuristic styling. Then when it comes to the comfort aspect, I really like the fact that this vehicle is family friendly, especially when it comes to interior space, cargo space, headroom, shoulder room. This vehicle is just all around designed nicely. And then when it comes to the Sensitech seats, they provide a good amount of support and comfort, which did surprise me just because I'm a bigger fan of leather. I want to have that luxury aspect, but I could totally rock with this trim and this spec. I love the Brooklyn gray and the red interior. It just contrasts very well. But also the interior layout, everything is within arm's reach and just driver friendly and driver focused. So overall, I think that if you are looking at buying a luxury compact crossover, the BMW X3 has to be at the top of your list, or at least close to it, just because it provides a good amount of technology features, but also it's comfortable and the performance is nice as well. And it's really that performance that stands out to me, and that's why I would say that it is better, at least when compared to its closest rivals. It's better than the GLC and also the Audi Q5. So guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more. Also make sure to follow me on Instagram at Boston Autoblog so you can see what I'm up to and what vehicles I'll be featuring in the future. And I will see you guys next time.